Hey everybody, welcome to the latest edition of The Gray Area as we take a look back at a frustrating weekend for Lions fans and Tigers fans and Red Wings fans before that, but then a little less after, and Wolverine fans and Spartan fans. Rough all the way around, man. If you're in and around the Detroit area, the last handful of days, it's tough to deal with, but we're going to get through it. A lot to get to with regards to this specific game with the Lions and the Chiefs. Got to talk about what we've learned, take a look at numbers over narratives, and kind of take a look at some of the numbers that told the story of this game. Need to talk about Dan Campbell's new challenge coming out of Kansas City, because the way that game ended is going to dictate some of how things go moving forward, and there's some important developments there. And then a reminder to myself, as much as anybody, that the season is long and that we needn't get caught up in the immediacy of one moment and think that everything is doomed, so long as the lessons get learned and the improvements get made and all of the things that needed tending to get tended to. So please subscribe to the channel, do all of the Facebooky, bell ringy, signy, clicky things that help us keep all of this content free forever and always. And let's get started, shall we? Let's start with what we've learned. And that is the nature of complementary football as it relates to the Lions and how it leans towards the offense. Dan Campbell's been talking about complementary football. The notion that if one part of your team, say the defense, isn't playing real well, that the offense needs to be able to pick them up. And that if the offense flames out on a drive, the defense needs to shut things down and get them back on the field. And then occasionally, special teams needs to go off, and they need to score the points and tilt the game in the Lions' favor. That's all absolutely true. I mean, there's nothing about that that's revolutionary. It's also not wrong. He's absolutely right to say that. But with regards to the Lions, I think what we've learned is that this team is offense first. And that shouldn't surprise anybody. The star power on the offense for the Lions is evident. The resources and the attention that they've paid to the offensive line is also evident. You can only win games if you score points. That's a crazy notion, I know. But I'm willing to say it. I'll die on that hill. Scoring points, that's the way to go. And in the two losses that the Lions have suffered this year, they've been held under 20. That's not coincidence. 13 points in Green Bay, 17 points in Kansas City. This team, especially with all of the injuries right now, is not built to win defensive battles. Is it fair that the offense was going to need to be damn near perfect in Kansas City to win that game? No. But Dan said it up front. They needed to score 30 points if they were going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. 30 points in primetime at Arrowhead. It's a big ask, and the offense was expected to pull that kind of weight, and they couldn't. There were too many mistakes, and that led to the fact that you just cannot expect this defense, as it is currently constructed, or I'd argue all the way at full strength, to be able to keep up. Not with a team like Kansas City, not when they're desperate, not with Patrick Mahomes back there. This complementary football notion, 100% correct. So long as by complementary you mean the offense is doing most of the heavy lifting, because the offense is going to have to do most of the heavy lifting. Which brings me to this. The other thing we learned is against good teams, and record be damned, Kansas City's a fine team, one of the best in the league still to this day, mistakes will kill you, and they did. Whether it was Amon-Ra St. Brown dropping a pass on fourth down, Aidan Hutchinson picking maybe the worst possible time to take a roughing the passer penalty, the call it ticky-tack call on the DPI, you know those are going to happen. When you go into Kansas City, you know what you're up against with the officiating, and yes, it's a thing, and yes, the research is real. Look up the University of Texas El Paso's research on just exactly how many flags have fallen in the favor of the Kansas City Chiefs in the Mahomes era, and it is absolutely right there in black and white. It's just math. They get the benefit of those calls, and you know that. You know that going in, so you can't make mistakes, and the Lions made too many mistakes. Way too many in this case. You can get away with that against the Bengals. Let them get hot in the fourth quarter, have some lapses in judgment, some bad coverages. You give up some points, no harm, no foul. They're not a real good team. You can make those mistakes and beat them. Against good teams, mistakes will kill you. Another thing we learned out of this, and this is something that I learned personally because I woke up after, about 2.5 hours sleep on Monday morning to a Twitter timeline full of angry Kansas City fans. My goodness, y'all take it personally, especially after a big win, that somebody thinks maybe you got some help from the Zebras. You got some help from the Zebras, man. It's right there. You want to argue that Kelsey dropped that ball? No, nobody does. The call went in your favor. I'm a Lions fan. If the call went in my team's favor, yeah, you kind of like, I don't know. Didn't deserve that one, but I'll take it. Kansas City fans aren't there. And that is because the Lions aren't lovable anymore. And Lions fans aren't lovable anymore. And that is great news, because when you're not lovable anymore, it's because you've started winning at a clip that's bothering people. The best teams do. Nobody had any feelings up or down on the Patriots until they started winning Super Bowls year after year. Nobody gave a damn about the Kansas City Chiefs until they started winning and winning and winning and winning. Good franchises that win a lot of games get some hate, and the Lions are there. They are not lovable. Their fans aren't appreciated. And boy, oh boy, to some people that I happen to know personally are genuinely pretty kind people down around KC Mo will talk some junk. I got called some names, some things I won't repeat. They were not happy, which is weird because they won, whether they got that help from the Zebras or not. Another thing that we learned, and this is going to be a tough watch for some of the folks in the linebacker room, that film's not going to be fun. The film on this Kansas City game is not going to be fun for that linebacking core, because time and time again, Patrick Mahomes found ways to exploit underneath routes, got the Lions moving laterally, had linebackers out of position, consistently exploited the short part of that field. And the weird thing is, and I'll show you this in just a second, and apologies if you're listening on the audio only feed, because this is going to be a little bit visual. The Lions should have known this, because I knew this, and I'm not smart terribly or a professional in any football capacity, but I want to show you this. These are next-gen stats, and this is Baltimore versus Kansas City and all of the routes. Look at all the little green dots. You see all the little green dots? They're all right there on the line of scrimmage, because that is where the passes were going. All of those completions, a number of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, behind the line of scrimmage. That is how this Kansas City offense operates. That was in a game against Baltimore. This is the game against Jacksonville. Much the same thing. Targets get a little bit deeper, but a lot of action behind the line of scrimmage and just the other side of it. A lot of those green dots right along that lateral blue line of scrimmage. That's, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 passes behind the line of scrimmage, trying to put linebackers in a blender. And then you fast forward to Sunday night, and the dots don't move that much. And the bottom line is there's just a lot of that side-to-side action and those shallow passes designed to exploit space, and the Lions linebackers fell right into that, and it won't be fun to watch that film for any of that crew. Again, I haven't, at the time of this taping, I haven't been able to go back and rewatch the game, but I can say with some confidence, anecdotally from sitting through it live as it happened, that might be the worst game I've seen from Alex Anzalone in some time. He just absolutely got taken advantage of, and it was one of those games where he and Jack Campbell both were in the blender. They had a plan for him, and they executed it really, really well. The other thing we've learned, Brian Branch going to be a little light come holiday season. If you're on Brian's Christmas list, you may want to downgrade your expectations. Some more specifics on that coming up in the numbers portion of today's show. And the last thing we learned, we can all stop talking about J-Mo, right? This became a hot topic after he got his contract because he didn't get enough targets for some people. I'm guessing that's mostly the fantasy football crowd. But then he gets 6 for 66. It's the number of the beast, Iron Maiden. And then gets a touchdown as well. He will be as involved as he can be. Every week, the Lions find a new guy to feature because defenses can't account for all of this offense. And we talked about that a week ago, and it's still true. And J-Mo showed up and showed out and had himself a nice little game. So I think we can all stop talking about J-Mo. He's fine. The offense has got lots of mouths to feed. It's not always going to be equitable. And he was there and did his job and looked every part the playmaker that he needed to. So that is what we learned. Moving on to numbers over narratives and the numbers that told the story of this game. Let's start with the good news. I want to start with the number 79. And I'm starting there because I am going to continue beating this drum until proven wrong. But 79 was Jared Goff's completion percentage. And that included, by my rough count, at least three passes that he threw away. He is just continuing on this insanely efficient tear, going 23 of 29, 203 yards, had a couple of touchdowns, would have had one receiving. That is what it is. But he is just incredibly efficient again within this offense and moving at this unbelievable clip with his completion percentage. We all know that Amon-Ra St. Brown dropped a ball, and that doesn't happen very often. You take away just a couple of those, and it gets even more impressive. But even with all of that factored in, still a 79% completion percentage. It's absolutely absurd. Another number that told the story on this game, and this is one that I'm fairly confused by. 4. The number 4. That was carries for David Montgomery. Now, that's less than half his lowest total on the season. He's had 11 carries, 12 carries, 9 carries, and 18 carries down in Cincinnati. And he had 4. And again, I don't want to be an armchair coordinator. I'm not trying to tell anybody how to coach, but 4? That doesn't seem like enough for a guy as impactful as David Montgomery. Now, I know in the postgame, Chris and I have talked about the fact that David seems to be being used in the second half of games counterintuitively instead of wearing people down in the beginning of the game and then letting Josh Gibbs go off with the big runs in the second half. Josh Gibbs gets the carries in the beginning of the game, and then David Montgomery comes in and is the hammer on a tired defense. But that just didn't go this week. And 4 carries seems like nowhere close enough. David Montgomery's got to be a bigger part of that offense, and he hasn't been that little a part of the offense at all this season. It hasn't happened. That was a shocking number when you get through to the end of the game and realize that he was only given the ball 4 times. Another number that kind of explained everything you needed to know about how this game went, that is the number 1. That was the number of punts from Kansas City. Defense just did not get them off the field near often enough. 4 for 10 on third downs doesn't sound too bad, but then you add 2 more first downs by penalties, and they went 2 for 3 on fourth down, and that's the one that gets you. 3rd and 18, and you let this team have 17. You set up the 4th down that then becomes achievable. You give them that momentum. The defense couldn't get themselves off the field, and the punter for Kansas City, Matt Ariza, basically had the day off. And that's not going to help you when you're playing good teams. You got to find ways to get timely stops. Against a team like Kansas City, you're not going to get a bunch, but they got to punt it more than once, or you're going to have your hands full in a game where your offense has to be absolutely perfect, where they cannot make a mistake, where they have to at least drain time of possession even on non-scoring drives. And that's a big ask with all of that youth along the offensive line, the rotating door at left tackle as they started now with Dan Skipper and their 3rd different left tackle in 3 games. That's a big, big ask. Defense has got to find a way to make Kansas City or any team punt more than once. Another set of numbers that explain kind of how this game went. 363 and 0. 363 is the number of games, team games, that have been played since 2024. And until last night, 0 was the number of games where a team had finished that game without a single penalty enforced against them. A lot's been made of the officiating, and justifiably so. KC gets a lot of, let's call it, questionable calls in their favor. They do a lot of begging and pleading. There's a lot of alms for the poor, sir. Hey, Penny, for the orphans, from Travis Kelce. And there's certainly more than a fair bit of Kermit noises and pouty face from Patrick Mahomes. That's part of the deal. But since the start of last year, not one team had gone an entire game without a single enforced penalty. They didn't even get one called until 2 minutes and 14 seconds were left in the fourth quarter. So that's crazy. Another number, and this will lead us into the next part of the program here, is the number 14. And that is the number of times that Brian Branch is about to be fined in his career, because he's currently sitting at 13. And as of the time of this taping, they have not yet announced the fine, but there almost certainly will be one. And that brings me back to the thing about if you're on this Christmas list, because you may want to downgrade your expectations for a gift. He's given the league back $129,995. That's how much Brian Branch has given back of his own salary. He's going to give back a good chunk more after that brawl. A lot of numbers flying around in this game. Most of them are not in the Lions' favor. There's a lot of things to improve there, but that's, for my money, the digits that told the story of this game. Moving on to Dan's new challenge, because that is going to be something to look at moving into the second half of the season, and really even just this week against the Bucs, where you better have your helmet strapped on tight, because Tampa Bay's a really good team, and they are not afraid of the Lions. They have not had a problem coming to Ford Field and figuring out how to win games. And that is Dan's challenge about keeping his team focused. He started the post-game press conference absolutely admonishing Brian Branch, as he should, because you cannot start a melee and throw punches no matter how bullied or mad or whatever it is you're feeling after a game. We all saw what happened. I know a handful of people that think it's fully justified, and I don't necessarily disagree with all of it. You can be good and mad at Kansas City. Are they cheap? Yeah. Are they a little dirty? Yeah. Do they get way too much love from the Zebras? Yeah. But you still can't take a poke at somebody after a game and start a brawl. Because when you do, you're going to get suspended. And when you get suspended, or you put yourself in line for a suspension, you're hurting the team. And Brian Branch has been in this position too many times already this year, with inopportune penalties that have wiped out plays from his teammates, and now potentially missing from the lineup at a time when they are already missing too many pieces from that defensive lineup, especially in the secondary. Dan's got to find a way to address this, and you get the sense from his immediate thoughts in the postgame that that is top of mind. Branch can't continue to be a liability on the field and after games. He has to be there making the kind of plays that they drafted him to make, and he's got to find a way to keep his emotions in check. He wasn't the only one, by the way. Kirby Joseph, while I assume still in the locker room because it happened during the live Detroit Lions podcast postgame show, was on a tweet storm that went on for a good long time, retweeting memes and mean thoughts about the officiating and adding his own commentary. He was absolutely incensed by the way things go. And again, I'm not saying it's unjustified. I don't know that you want your players engaging in that, especially in the heat of the moment right after the game. Dan's going to have to find a way to keep this in check. He said that maybe his team needed this. He being Dan Campbell. He said that the team maybe needed this wake-up call. That feels kind of dangerous considering the way that the Green Bay game went. It wasn't that long ago that the Lions were humbled by the Packers in very much the same fashion that they were humbled by Kansas City. They then went on to roll off 4 straight wins. They could do that again. We will all forget about the mess in Kansas City, but I do think it's interesting that in 6 weeks, this team loses a game, and the first time, Amon-Ra St. Brown says, you know what, maybe this will be good for us. Maybe this gets some people's attention. And the second time, Dan Campbell says, maybe some people need this. If some people need this in that locker room, you need to get in front of that, and you need to get with those guys, and you need to let them know ahead of time what's at stake. You need to convince them to be on board ahead of time, because you can't get too many more opportunities to get this information that the apparently people need in the form of a loss. You don't want to fall behind too far in the standings by losing games that you could be competitive in, so long as everybody's focused and doing their jobs. So everybody gets an extra day off this week. They've got another primetime game, and boy, oh boy, what I wouldn't give for a 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff at this point. we just have regular football at a regular time so I can get some sleep? But they do get the extra day off. Everybody gets to collect themselves, and that includes those coaches who have got to come in and find a way to get this team focused because they have a really tough 5-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers team coming in that is proven on the field that they do not fear the Lions and that they can win in the confines of Ford Field in Detroit. So, clock's ticking. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. That's what Dan always says, and he's right. Least of all Tampa Bay. Todd Bowles is going to have a good plan for this offense. Baker Mayfield fears no man or beast, and they've got to get themselves together after they got emotional at the end of this one in Kansas City. And we'll wrap up this week's edition of The Gray Area with a reminder, to myself most of all, that the season is long. It's a long, long year, 17 weeks. To be exact, 18 if you count the bye week, and the Lions don't have to get carried away with this one intensely frustrating loss. And it was an intensely frustrating loss because the game was there to be had. This team can contend and compete with any team in football, period, full stop. You can say that with your whole chest if you're a Lions fan. There's nobody in the league that the Lions can't match up with, but they've got to be able to play their game. They've got to stay mistake-free. The play calls have to be sharp. The execution's got to be there. The defense has got to do their part. All of those things have to happen, or they can be beat by just about anybody in the league because that's how the NFL is built. But this super frustrating game didn't have to go that way. Nonetheless, it's just one loss. We all learned, with all of the blame to go around for this one loss, just exactly what 15 wins will get you. 15 wins will get you squadoosh. Nothing. It guarantees nothing. It got them nothing a year ago. They were out in the first round of the playoffs that they participated in. And then that was that. And it all goes away for naught. So the fact that they lost this game in mid-October to a championship caliber Kansas City team in prime time at their barn, it's of no consequence so long as they gather together and get their stuff straight for Tampa Bay and then head into the bye week and then start getting some of their players back because all of those things are still going to happen too. Look around the league at some of the injury situations. Thinking about San Francisco, they are losing players weekly. The Eagles have lost 2 straight. Kansas City, for all the glory of this big win over the Lions, they're a 500 team. There's a lot of misery to go around for the fans if you want to get caught up and play the week-to-week emotional game. Right now, the Hawks, Rams, Niners, Bucks, Philadelphia, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, New England, and Buffalo, I think that's the list, all have over 4 wins, along with, Detroit, 4 or more wins for that whole list of teams. Are they all going to be there at the end of the year? In fact, if you took that list, I'd be willing to bet with some accuracy you could guess which ones will. Detroit will be one of them. No team's undefeated. Everybody lives week to week in this league, and we get to do that for the better part of 4.5 months. The season's long, and it's glorious. Players and coaches always say 1 week at a time. That is the proper approach to this, even for fans. Give yourself a day to be bummed out about Kansas City and all of the ways that the refs screwed the Lions. And yeah, the refs screwed the Lions, but the Lions screwed the Lions too. And that hurts more, quite frankly. None of it matters when they kick off against Tampa Bay. Nobody's going to give a crap. They'll be back in the confines of Ford Field, and I'm begging you, please, in the silver pants, just one time, can we get out of the damn blueberries and get back into the silver pants? The 90s throwback, the new design. It's incomplete when the pants are blue. All right, that's enough of my old man shaking fist at cloud bit. I'm a simple man. I just want silver pants. That's all I'm asking for. If we could do that on Monday night against Tampa Bay at home, that'd be slick. I'm not superstitious. I don't believe that their jersey competition or combination gets them wins or losses. I desire macaroni pictures and silver pants. All right, that's all I'm saying. They went in to Kansas City this week, and Kansas City was in get right mode. You knew they had it in them, that team could get right at any moment, and you didn't want be the team that played them. Well, now the Lions have got a chance to get right. and they got a chance to make Tampa Bay feel exactly what they felt there on Sunday night at Arrowhead. And I'm looking forward to it because the season's long, 1 week at a time. Last game sucked. This one should be fun. Thanks for taking the time. Please subscribe to the channel. Keep up with everything that we do. Follow me. All of the socials, Instagram, the Blueski, Twitter, Facebook, if you're one of the olds. All of those at The Michael Gray, The Michael Grey. And I'll talk to you next week.